All right, joining us now is the softball coach. In fact, the man that has really reshaped what has been a very good program, softball at Oklahoma State, and has got it looking good. I mean, it was spit shined here this season and ready to go until the COVID-19 hit us, and that is Kenny Gajewski. And Kenny, good morning.
Hey, Robert, how are you?
Doing good, doing good. I have to admit, I feel, here's the thing. I think this is what we're going through is as much, if not more, of a mental challenge as it is physical. And I've done pretty good because I know in past years I could have easily gotten cabin fever, and I'm keeping myself busy besides work, and I think you are too. I mean, you're building a house, so I think you got a lot of things going.
Yeah, we're doing a lot. I mean, I'm bored. I wish I was coaching and going to the office each day. But I've got two kids, of my own that are trying to figure out what to do and trying to keep them busy with online school and I guess what we're calling it now and all that kind of stuff. So we're making it. I mean, there's a lot of people. A lot worse off than us, and we're fortunate and just trying to get through this time and figure out what the new normal is going to be for all of us and for our families and people around the state and around the country. And we're building a house, so luckily that part of that's still going. It hasn't stopped yet, so that's been nice. And it's just surreal in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I don't want to make you sad, but yesterday my wife and I got on my smoker and smoked one of my favorites. It's a comfort food. It's a uh, smoked macaroni and cheese, and it's got some proteins added to it, and so. I took, we took different portions around to just some people we knew who were, weren't getting out, and delivered those. Went all the way. We kind of went east and west in Oklahoma City. Never got out of the truck. Just delivered it, and we were safe. But driving home, we went I-35 home past Softball Hall of Fame, and I'll be honest, I had not seen it as finished as it is now. The stadium with the double decking and the new press box. And I looked at it and I told my wife, I said, that is such a shame because that thing would have been filled again this year at the Women's College World Series, and probably pretty filled up, even before that. Was the Big 12 going to be there?
Yeah, the Big 12 was going
Okay.
to be there. It wasn't going to be inside the main stadium yet.
Okay.
We were going to play it on those backfields one more year, just to give them as much time there. I mean, you probably couldn't see
Man.
the inside of that thing, but they're redoing the field too. They're putting in a
Yeah.
brand new field, which it
Okay.
needed. That's being done as well. So it's coming. It's a shame, but we're all in the same boat here. I'm not the only sport who's missing out on stuff, and we'll get back there. This team is gonna be back there, and I feel like we're gonna be one of the first eight teams to play in there. So I'm just excited about that, and can't wait to get back to work.
Yeah, I mean, I actually talked to you the day time stopped for college sports. I was sitting in the parking lot over there at the Sherman Smith when I heard it on the radio. Not just the cancellation of the NCAA tournament, but spring sports was being canceled as well, and the championships at least. And looked over at tennis, thought about Chris Young. He'd worked so hard to get the NCAA championships here. But then I went over to your place. Your staff was in the office watching ESPN. You were getting phone calls and text messages from your players. We were supposed to do a doubleheader, Chris Deal and I, on ESPN Plus that day with Western Illinois and your team. And what kind of fill us in on how the rest of that day went after I left, and how your communication's been with your team, and kind of what's been up with Oklahoma State softball since that day.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's been different. We've been communicating through Zoom, like a lot of people have. We usually talk about once a week or so, and I text our kids periodically. They're all doing online school. We're I should say I'm really lucky. I've got a team who excels in the classroom, so I don't have to keep too much of an eye on them. But I get to just make sure that they're doing okay, and but they do really well in school and really stay on top of school, so that's been awesome. But I'm telling you, Robert, I miss them. I mean, I when you coach and you're so, I'm like every other coach. I think I take for granted how lucky I am to be able to coach, to be around kids always. It's what keeps us young. I miss it. I mean, I miss those kids. I miss seeing them each day, and I miss the interaction. And so, I go through spurts where it's almost, I've said this before, it's almost a little bit of a state of depression in a way, because you're just so used to stuff. And when it gets taken away so abruptly, it's difficult. So you really start to put things into perspective on what all this stuff means. And so we're just, as a staff, we're talking each day. Today it's 2:00. We have the last third, of our post-season evals that, we have all of our kids do a self eval on themselves. And then we as a staff grade it. We mark up what we don't agree with, and then we sit down. Now we used to do it in person, but currently we're doing it on a Zoom call, and we sit down and we just go over it, and we just kind of give an honest deval of where they're currently at, not where we think they'll be in a year or where they were last year. It's, hey, when the season ended, here's where you were, and we just talk about that stuff and just give a very honest talk. And for some of those kids, it's a hard talk. For some, it's an easy talk. And it's just normal stuff. It's just normal coaching. It's just normal work. And I really enjoy that. It's good interaction. It's how these kids grow. It's how they mature. It's how they go from coming in here as young women to women. And it's just like a workforce deal. It's like I hope they can find jobs where people are honest. And like I tell them, if you don't like this eval, change it. You know what I mean? Like, you have the ability each day to change it. So we're going through that stuff now. And then once we get through all those, then as a coaching staff, we're going to start to plan for when they're coming back. And obviously we don't have a date, but we still want to be ahead of the curve on that, and as much as we can. And then lastly, I think for me, it's a self-reflection time. Okay, we've been here now. June 13th will be 5 years, and it's not that far away. And through 5 years, here's what we've done. Where do we want to be in the next 5 years, the next 10 years, and then how are we going to get there? So there's a lot of grading yourself and grading your staff and grading your support staff. And luckily, I've got great people and that are honest with each other. And I don't think it'll take us a tremendous amount of time, but it'll take us time to start going through and say, okay, where do we want to go from here?
Here's the thing. You're not you're not going to like me very much. You're going to say, Robert, I just as soon you keep your mouth shut on some of these compliments. But having seen with what this team was doing from that first week, watching the game stream from Baton Rouge to where right up until that doubleheader with West Illinois and the Cowgirl Invitational was postponed. I thought the really neat thing about this team was a lot of teams do the roller coaster. They do good, and then they'll have a bad game or two, and then they'll go good again. This team, I thought, from the beginning to the point the season ended, was on a steady incline. It was going up. 19-5, team batting average of over 300. Opponents were hitting like 170 something. Your ERA was one of the best in the country. You had three pitchers that were all pitching well and kind of knew their role. Players, Allison Febri was kind of, she wasn't the only one, but she was definitely off to like an All-American year, maybe even a player of the year type year, either within conference or. And I know there were others. Texas was off to a good start, and Oklahoma's always good. But the thing I've told people, Kenny, and again, I think you'll fill us in here on how many of these girls, if not all of them, are going to come back. You had a team that could win a national championship. There was no doubt in my mind this team was capable, especially if they stayed on that incline.
Well, you know, yeah. I mean, I can't disagree. I'm not going to disagree. This was one of the best teams in the country. I think there's probably 10 of those teams. The parity in our game has really changed. It's not just a two-team race. There was probably 8 to 10 teams that would have a chance, and I think we were definitely in that mix. And, can't look back. We're going to get 95% of this team back. We're going to add 4 freshmen that have already signed. You guys know me. I'm a transfer fan, so I'm already looking there. We don't have a bunch of pieces that we need. That's the thing. We really don't have a glaring. Besides one thing that I think we have one glaring need, and we'll get that. We'll find that. But I'm excited about what's to come. This team, even though the season was cut short and there was no finality, there was no ending, good or bad. This 15, Team 5, they set the bar for Team 6, and I'm grateful for what they did and the way they worked and they prepared, and it's only going to help us for next year. We're going to get the majority of this team back. I'd rather not say names yet. I don't think it's fair to them yet. But we're going to get, I can tell you this. Carrie's coming back. Allison Febri's coming back. And I still haven't talked to all my other seniors yet, but I can tell you I know a lot of people obviously want to know about them. They're coming back, so that's really neat. I got a couple others who are trying to decide, to decide on the school part. What should they do? What should they not do? There's just a lot of these kids life keeps moving, and they've been preparing to take jobs, and so like I told them, don't change your life course unless it's just something that you want to do. So this team will be really good again. This program, I feel like, with the work of Coach Cottrell and Coach Pestrak and Coach Barfelt, the work that they've put in here in their time here, this is not a program that's going to just kind of come and go. This program has been built since we got back here to sustain, and it's going to do that. And I appreciate the comments, and I'm excited about what the future holds.
Yeah, a couple of questions. One, just the 2 girls you mentioned, they're both transfers. Allison Febri came from Georgia, and then Carrie Eberly came from Virginia Tech. And you talked about being a big fan of transfers. It's kind of a part of the recipe for your program. The thing that impressed me with those 2 girls particularly, because they had both spoke with the media multiple times, they were both happy. I mean, sometimes you make a move and you look back on it and say, maybe I shouldn't have made that move. but you could see it in the eyes of both those kids, that hey, this has really worked for me. And I would think that's a rewarding thing as a coach. In fact, you kind of kidded around with Allison that she was one of the first kids you recruited when you got the head coaching job at Oklahoma State, and you missed her the first time around, but she did make it back on your team, and that's pretty rewarding to make sure that it's the right thing. And for those two kids, this was the right move.
Well, it was, and it's interesting. I'll be very honest about, and I think Allison would be okay with me telling you this too. In like 6 weeks of Allison coming here, Robert, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Within her 6 weeks, I remember noticing a little bit of like, man, she doesn't seem to be in a good place. And I remember having a sit down talk with Allison in our team room, and I just brought her in and I said, hey, what's going on? And she just was like, kind of him-haw. And I said, hey, look, you need to understand something. You made a decision, what you thought was going to be best for you. There's no looking back. Like, you did the right thing. You're going through what you probably went through in your first year. She was homesick. She was a little bit trying to decide, did I make the right decision? This team is really good. Like, there's no guarantee of me like starting for sure. And I told her, I said, hey, I told you that from day one. This was going to be difficult, but you'll be fine. Stay the course. And I said, you got to smile. You got to have fun. This program is all about that. And Carrie had a little bit of the same thing. We've had those people, Shao. We had the same talking with Shao. It's not. It doesn't just happen. You have to invest. And these kids are learning, and I'm getting better with those transfers. You got to remind them, hey, it's still going to be hard. You got to still put work in. You got to make those deposits so you can have the withdrawals to take out. And I can remember from that day forward with Febrey how it just changed, and they are happy, but they still go through the same struggles as anybody else, as any freshman, as any other transfer does. It's not easy, and it takes work.
Hey, last question. You played 24 games. You were 19-5 when the softball season stopped. If in a perfect world we get back in school next fall, things become more normal. This is more of a coach's issue. How much have you talked to other coaches in the fall season? Is there any way you can add more games to the fall because you were short games this spring? I mean, what do you think will happen in the fall when you get back together if we're fortunate enough for that to happen?
Well, it's a great question, but this is all hypotheticals because we currently aren't even back to work, and we, in my heart, I think we'll play football, but I don't know for sure. So if we don't play football, I can tell you this: we probably won't play any fall games.
Right.
I would tell you that now. So I think it all depends on how the other fall sports do. I shouldn't just say football. I should say soccer and track and all the other things that we do in the fall. All the other sports that we have that go on in the fall. As long as those are going as normal, then I think we'll have our normal schedule of fall games. I don't think we'll play any extra. Just remember, as you do, and you know this, there won't be anything extra because right now everybody's losing money and funds and all that kind of stuff. So we're not going to add anything new or anything extra. I'm hoping that we can just
have the same as what we've always had. But like Coach Holder and everybody keeps reminding all of us, what normal is, we'll find out. And but we're all going to suffer some consequence here. What that is, I don't know. But it's just going to be interesting to see what that'll be. And like he tells us, next April, I hope we're able to look back and go, hey, we're just like we were last April, except we're working. We're not short staff. We're not short anything. We're just back to normal, and that's our goal. And that's all I can be hopeful for, is that we can just have what we've always had.
That's a good goal. That's a good goal. Hey, I appreciate the time, and again, best to you and your family, and that includes your softball family, your coaching staff, and your players, and yeah, it was. I will say this: it was fun for me to be more involved and do some stuff with softball, and I gained a really good appreciation for what you and your staff have done with that program, and your players. They act right. They do the right things. They do have fun. It's fun to watch them, and we look forward to when we can do that again.
Robert, I appreciate it. We love it here. I was talking to Wes Edwards this morning, our head equipment manager, and I was talking to him about some stuff, and I'm just like, man, we so fortunate to live here, to work here. It's the greatest place on earth, and I'm glad I'm here. I'm lucky. I'm fortunate, and I'm blessed, and I hope all of our fans and alumni and supporters of OSU are safe and stay safe. And if there's anything that our softball team can do from a distance, lighten somebody's day up or to brighten the day up for any of them, just reach out. Let us know. I've got a bunch of kids that want to be on the forefront and want to help our state out and our city out and our town out. And if there's anything that we can do, you guys holler at us.
Yeah, I know this. Everybody's glad to hear you're building a house and wants you to live in that house a long time. So
we love it here. This is home, man. This is home.
Yeah, and you know what? If things do normalize and get back together, one thing I'd like to see with this team, with most of them coming back, just a home run hitting contest one night would draw a crowd to your ballpark.
Well, we're all in. We'll do anything. We can't wait. And like I said, we appreciate the support. And Robert, I'm glad you've been coming around more and more. It means a lot to us. And we got a great program. It's a great product. It's a bunch of great kids, and it's a great game. So looking forward to seeing you all soon.
All right. Take care. Take care, Kenny.
All right, Robert. Okay, you take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.